She lied about going out with friends, so I sent her a video of what I saw. She told me it was a girls' night. Nothing fancy. Just a casual evening with her closest friends. She even laughed, gave me a quick kiss, and said not to wait up because they might get a little wine happy. I smiled. Told her to have fun. But something felt off. Maybe it was the way she avoided eye contact right before leaving. Or how she triple-checked her phone, then turned off notifications before setting it in her purse. Little things. Subtle, but they stuck with me. Still, I didn't want to be the insecure boyfriend. So I shrugged it off, poured myself a drink, and flipped on the game. But about an hour later, I realized I hadn't eaten all day. I figured I'd grab something from the diner down the street. It was on the way to the liquor store anyway, and I was almost out of whiskey. So I got in my car. I wasn't thinking about her, I was thinking about ribs and restocking. But as I turned down Main Street, something made me slow down. A sleek silver car. Hers. Parked across from a local bar. Not a fancy club. Not some girls-only lounge. Just a regular late-night spot known for cheap drinks and sketchy booths. And she was inside. I couldn't see much at first. The windows were tinted, the lights inside low. But when the door opened and the bouncer stepped aside, I caught a glimpse. Her. Hair down. Laughing. Leaning in close to someone. I pulled over. Not in some angry, jealous haze, but cold, focused. I parked across the street and killed the engine. My hands were shaking. Not with rage. With realization. She lied. She wasn't with her friends. And whoever that guy was, she sure wasn't sitting that close just to chat. I took out my phone and started recording. I zoomed in. Kept it steady. At first, the video was blurry. But then the bartender moved, the lights shifted, and for one clear moment, I saw it. Her hand on his chest. His hand on her knee. Her smile completely different than the one she gave me an hour earlier. I didn't storm in. I didn't call her out. I just watched. And filmed. And when she got up to head to the bathroom laughing over her shoulder at him, I hit send. No words. No caption. Just the video. I watched from my car as she checked her phone near the hallway. Watched as she stopped mid-step. Her face fell. She stared at the screen like it had just punched her. Then she looked up. Scanned the room. Then outside. She couldn't see me. I was tucked behind a delivery van, phone still in hand. And for the first time that night, I saw something real in her expression, panic. She turned back toward the table. The guy looked confused. She said something, I couldn't hear it, but he stood up like she just told him the place was on fire. They left together. But not arm in arm this time. She was walking fast, fumbling with her purse. He was trailing behind her, clearly unsure what was going on. I stayed in my car. Kept recording. She stopped at the sidewalk. Pulled out her phone. Called me. I watched it ring. Let it go to voicemail. Then I started driving. I didn't go home. I didn't want to be there if she showed up. I needed time. I needed space to process what I just seen. What I just confirmed. Because no matter how many excuses she'd come up with, no matter how many fake tears she might cry, I had the truth. In high definition. And she knew it. I spent the night at my brother's place. Didn't say a word to him. Just asked for the spare key and crashed on the couch. When I woke up the next morning, my phone had 14 missed calls. 8 voicemails. 27 texts. All from her. I didn't open a single one. Not yet. Because before I dealt with her, I needed to decide if I even wanted to hear what she had to say. When I finally left my brother's place the next morning, the world felt different. Not just because of what I'd seen, but because of what it meant. She hadn't just lied about where she was going. She constructed a whole story. A performance. Right down to the carefree laugh, the don't wait up joke, the fake confidence in her voice when she said she'd see me tomorrow. That kind of deception doesn't just happen by accident. It takes planning. Rehearsal. Intent. I didn't go straight home. I wasn't ready. I grabbed coffee from a drive-thru and parked by the lake near our neighborhood, watching the water ripple in the morning breeze. My phone buzzed again, her name lighting up the screen. I didn't answer. Not yet. I opened the messaging app instead and scrolled through her texts. The first one had come just 5 minutes after I sent the video. What is this? Where are you? Then, please talk to me. It's not what it looks like. Then a series of panicked messages. Let me explain. I wasn't going to do anything. You don't understand. Then anger. You had no right to spy on me. That's not okay. You're acting crazy. Then back to desperation. Please, I'm begging you. Let's talk. But I wasn't ready to talk. I wasn't even sure I wanted to see her again. The video wasn't a misunderstanding. I wasn't jumping to conclusions. Her hand was on his chest. His hand was on her leg. Her smile wasn't one you give to someone you just met. And when she looked at her phone and saw what I sent, the look on her face told me everything. Guilt? Not surprise. Not confusion. Guilt? And fear. I finally drove home around noon. Her car was gone, but a bouquet of flowers had been left on the porch. A small white envelope taped to the front door with my name on it. I didn't touch it. I walked right past it and went inside. The house was silent. Still. As if it knew something had shifted forever. I sat down on the couch, the same spot where I'd kissed her goodbye the night before, and just stared at the blank TV screen. Memories hit me like a freight train. The weekend trips. The shared playlists. The night we decorated the Christmas tree together and she insisted we use the ugly ornaments because they had personality. The way she used to rest her head on my chest like it was the only place she felt safe. Was any of it real? I finally played one of her voicemails. Her voice cracked as she spoke. Please call me. I messed up. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I just needed to feel something. I thought I could handle it. I didn't think you'd find out like that. She paused. A shaky breath. I love you. I know you probably don't believe that right now, but I do. Please, let's talk. I sat in silence, letting the words echo around the empty room. I didn't mean for it to go that far. So it was what it looked like. There was no denying it anymore. I opened my laptop and played the video again, not because I wanted to torture myself, but because I needed the clarity. The truth. I watched every frame. The way she leaned in. The way he laughed at something she whispered. The physical closeness. It wasn't a mistake. It was a decision. That evening she finally came home. I heard the key turn in the lock and the soft creak of the door as it opened. She stepped inside slowly, eyes already glassy. I stayed seated on the couch, staring straight ahead. She said my name, voice trembling, and when I didn't respond, she walked closer. Please, just let me explain. I finally looked at her. She didn't look like the woman I'd known. Or maybe she looked exactly the same, and I was just seeing her clearly for the first time. She opened her mouth to speak, but I raised my hand to stop her. I don't want the version you rehearsed, I said quietly. I want the truth. Tears spilled over. I didn't plan it, she said. We were all supposed to meet at the bar. He just happened to be there. We used to talk a long time ago. I didn't know he'd show up. And the part where you put your hand on him? I asked. Was that part of the surprise too? She flinched like I'd slapped her. I was drunk. It was stupid. I wasn't thinking. I swear I wasn't going to do anything else. But you did something, I said, my voice calm but sharp. And you lied to me. That's not something you fix with flowers and a voicemail. She sank to her knees on the floor in front of me, sobbing. Please don't leave me. Please. I made a mistake. And that's when I realized something important. She wasn't crying because she hurt me. She was crying because she got caught. Because the mask had slipped and the consequences were real. I stood up, walked past her, and grabbed the envelope from the door. Inside was a handwritten note, full of apologies, regrets, promises. But not once did she admit the truth without an excuse attached. And I was done with excuses. I picked up my keys and walked out the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't shout. I didn't make a scene. Because the loudest truth is the one you don't need to explain. I'd sent the video. She saw it. And now she was living in the fallout. I didn't answer her calls for days. I needed distance, not just physical, but emotional. I needed to be far enough from the noise to hear myself think. That kind of betrayal doesn't hit all at once. It creeps in slowly, like a slow-burning fire, devouring everything you thought was solid. 1 minute you're remembering how she used to sing along in the car with zero shame, and the next you're picturing her in that bar with him, laughing like none of it ever mattered. I stayed at a friend's place for the first couple nights, someone who didn't ask too many questions. Just gave me space, a spare bed, and enough silence to let my thoughts untangle. I kept playing that moment over and over in my mind, the moment she saw the video. The way her face dropped. The sudden, frantic search for me in a place where she thought she was safe to lie. It was like watching a tower collapse in slow motion. Not because someone pushed it, but because it was built on rotten foundations from the start. I started wondering how many other lies there had been. Had this been the first time? The only time? Or just the only time she got caught? Trust doesn't just disappear when someone cheats. It unravels. Every memory becomes suspect. Every compliment feels like manipulation. Every touch from the past feels like a setup. I remembered a weekend trip we took 6 months ago, how she kept disappearing for long stretches during dinner to call her sister. I remembered how she'd come back with that same weird smile, the one she gave him in the bar. I had written it off as her being distracted. Now I wasn't so sure. I checked our shared social media albums. Scrolled through photos from the past year, trying to see if there were signs I missed. There were smiles, yes. Laughter. Hugs. But looking at them now felt like staring at props on a movie set. Perfectly arranged. Carefully posed. Empty. Then came the message from one of her friends. Not a close one, just someone in her wider circle. A message I never expected. It said, I don't want to get in the middle of anything, but she's not telling you everything. I saw them together a couple weeks ago. That wasn't the first time. My heart dropped. It was one thing to suspect. Another to know. I thanked her for the message. Didn't ask for more details. I didn't need them. That one sentence said everything. She didn't just mess up. She built a second life behind my back, brick by brick, while holding my hand with the other. The next morning, I finally answered her. One message. No emotion. Just, we're done. Don't come to the house. I'll send someone to get your things. She replied within minutes, begging me to talk. Promising she'd tell me everything. Swearing that this time she'd be honest. But I didn't want honesty served cold after everything had crumbled. I didn't want to sit across from her while she cried and spun half-truths into some story about confusion and emotional emptiness. I wanted peace. Not closure, because closure is something you give yourself, not something someone else hands you. I changed the locks. I called a mutual friend we both trusted, someone neutral, and asked them to arrange for her to pick up her things when I wasn't around. She tried to call again that night. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice cracked as she pleaded, please, can we meet just once? I need you to see that I'm serious about fixing this. Fixing this. As if you can repair shattered glass by taping the shards together. As if love is something you patch up after you burn the house down and expect it to feel like home again. Later that week, she showed up at my work. I wasn't surprised. She'd always been impulsive when she felt the control slipping away. I was walking to my car when I saw her waiting by it. Eyes red. Shoulders slumped. She looked smaller somehow, like a child who knew they were in trouble but didn't fully understand the weight of what they'd done. I kept walking. She stepped in front of me. Please, she whispered, I just need 5 minutes. I looked at her for a long time. And then I said the hardest thing I've ever had to say. You didn't just cheat on me. You cheated on the version of me who believed in you. That version is gone. And you're not getting this one, either. She covered her mouth, stunned. I stepped around her, unlocked my car, and drove off without looking back. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't angry. It was just final. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in days: clarity. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need an apology. I didn't need her tears. I needed my life back. And now I had it. The days that followed were quieter than I expected. No more surprise visits. No new messages. No voicemails. It was like she'd finally accepted what I said that night by my car, that I was done. But silence doesn't always mean peace. I still found myself staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., mind racing through memories, questions, and the kind of imaginary arguments you win too late. My house felt bigger now, but not in a good way. Just empty. The bed felt wider. The couch colder. There was an outline of her in every room, like the memory of a ghost that hadn't quite left yet. I deleted most of her photos from my phone, but I couldn't bring myself to erase them all at once. It felt like pulling a plug on a version of me that used to be happy even if it was built on lies. I started going through my old routines again. Waking up early. Hitting the gym. Cooking for one. I even picked up a few shifts at work I'd been avoiding just to stay busy. And for a while, it worked. The more I filled my days, the less time I had to think about what happened. But then, almost a week after we last spoke, a mutual friend sent me a screenshot. It was a social media post, one she had made. A long paragraph written in that half-apology, half-blame language people use when they're trying to rewrite history. She didn't mention me by name, but it was obvious who she was talking about. The post read something like, sometimes people think they know the whole story, but they don't see what was happening behind closed doors. We all make mistakes, especially when we feel unheard. I've learned from mine. I just wish others were willing to talk instead of walk away. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. But it made something crystal clear: she wasn't sorry. Not really. She was sorry she got caught. Sorry her image took a hit. Sorry the version of the story she wanted to control was no longer hers to tell. And yet, I couldn't help but wonder why she'd post that at all. Was it for attention? Sympathy? Or was it a final attempt to pull me back into her orbit, to get one more response, one more chance to twist things around? Either way, I wasn't giving it to her. Still, curiosity is a powerful thing. Later that night, I checked his profile. The guy from the bar. I hadn't looked at it before, I didn't care to, but now I needed to know. Needed to see if they were still in contact. And there it was. A photo just 2 days old. Him, sitting on a patio with a drink, captioned, "Sometimes the wrong people teach you the right lessons." Her name wasn't tagged. She wasn't in the photo. But one of her friends had liked it. And the comments underneath said enough. "You deserve better, bro. Glad you're finally out of that mess." And the most telling of all, she played you too, huh? That last one hit different. I reread it 3 times. She played you too. It was a strange mix of validation and nausea. Because it confirmed what I already suspected: she wasn't loyal to anyone. Not to him. Not to me. Maybe not even to herself. It wasn't about love or mistakes. It was about attention. Control. The thrill of being wanted. And once that thrill wore off, she moved on. Maybe he thought he was special. I know I did. But she had a way of making you feel like the only one in the room even when you weren't the only one in her life. I closed the app and turned off my phone. Enough was enough. I wasn't going to let pieces of her linger in my head anymore. I started cleaning the house the next morning, not just surface stuff, but a full reset. I boxed up the things she left behind. Her books. Her candles. That hoodie she always wore that still somehow smelled like her perfume. I packed it all and dropped it off with the friend who had helped coordinate the pickup before. No note. No goodbye. Just closure in cardboard form. A week later, I found myself sitting at that same lake where I'd parked after catching her. Only this time, I wasn't running from anything. I was breathing. Calm. A little sad, sure, but grounded. The kind of grounded that only comes after you walk through fire and realize you're still standing. I thought about how close I came to proposing to her. I had even looked at rings once. Imagined the whole life ahead. But now? Now I felt like I dodged something much worse than a failed engagement. I dodged a future full of lies and half-truths disguised as compromise. A message came through that night from a number I didn't recognize. No greeting. Just, "I saw your video. I'm sorry she did that to you." It helped me understand something I needed to see too. I didn't respond. But I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks: relief. Because maybe that video wasn't just a moment of pain captured in pixels. Maybe it was a mirror. For others. For her. For me. Proof that the truth always finds a way out. No matter how carefully you try to bury it. It had been almost a month since that night at the bar. Since the video. Since everything broke. Time had moved in strange ways since then, fast when I was distracted, painfully slow when I was alone. I had expected rage to stick around longer. Or heartbreak. But what lingered wasn't either of those. It was something quieter, harder to explain. A hollowed-out feeling, like walking through a house after a fire. The walls might still be standing, but everything inside was gone. And no matter how many times you tell yourself you're fine, something inside still aches when it's quiet. That was the hardest part. The silence. The way the evenings felt too still. The absence of her keys hitting the counter. Her voice in the hallway. The random humming from the other room when she thought no one was listening. It's funny, the things you end up missing. Not the big moments, the anniversaries or trips, but the small, mundane routines you once took for granted. But I wasn't going back. Not even close. I didn't want her back, didn't want explanations, didn't need closure anymore. What I needed now was something different. A reset. A clean slate. So I started making changes. I took some time off work, cashed in my unused vacation days, and booked a cabin 2 hours outside the city. Somewhere remote. Quiet. No Wi-Fi. No signal. Just time and space to breathe. When I arrived, the air felt different. Clean. Still. It was just a modest 1-bedroom place tucked into the trees, but it felt like a palace compared to the weight I'd been carrying. I unpacked slowly, deliberately, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I was doing something for me. I spent the first day hiking trails I couldn't name, just letting my body move without any particular direction. My mind was still cluttered, but it wasn't as loud as before. The woods had a way of calming things down, stripping away the noise. That night, I sat by the fire with a blanket and a book I hadn't touched in over a year. I read until I couldn't keep my eyes open, and when I fell asleep, I didn't dream about her. That was new. The second day, I brought out a notebook. I didn't plan to write anything deep, just a few thoughts, maybe a list. But once the pen hit the paper, the words poured out. Pages and pages of everything I hadn't said, everything I didn't send in messages, everything I never gave myself permission to feel. I didn't write to heal her memory. I wrote to erase it. To pull her out of the corners of my mind where she didn't belong anymore. There was something powerful about seeing it all on paper. The pain, the disappointment, the confusion, but also the lessons. I realized I had ignored red flags because I wanted the relationship to work more than I wanted it to be real. I excused distance as stress, mood swings as emotional depth, lies as forgetfulness. I told myself stories to keep the fantasy alive even when reality was screaming something different. That was on me. And it wouldn't happen again. That evening, I took out my phone and scrolled through my photo gallery one last time. I deleted everything with her face in it. Every selfie, every trip, every saved screenshot of text messages I once thought were sweet. I even deleted the video, the one that started it all. I had kept it, thinking maybe I'd need it someday. Proof, evidence, leverage. But I didn't need any of that anymore. The only person I had to convince was myself. And I already knew the truth. So I watched it once, not with sadness or rage, but clarity. Then I hit delete. Just like that, it was gone. And I didn't feel loss. I felt light. Back in the city a few days later, I returned to a place that felt both familiar and completely different. I had rearranged furniture while she was gone, replaced artwork, bought new sheets. Nothing big, but enough that it no longer looked like our place. Now it was just mine. Clean. Quiet. Free. One evening as I was walking home from the store, I ran into a friend of hers. Not someone I knew well, but someone who definitely recognized me. She hesitated, then said, "I heard what happened." "I'm sorry. She's not in a great place right now." I just nodded. Didn't say much. But as I walked away, I realized something. That wasn't my problem anymore. Her spiral, her confusion, her regret, they weren't mine to carry. I had enough of my own weight. And for the first time in a long time, I was learning how to set it down. One night, I received a letter in the mail. No return address. Handwritten. I knew it was from her the moment I opened it. I almost tossed it without reading, but curiosity got the better of me. It wasn't angry. It wasn't begging. Just quiet reflections, apologies wrapped in nostalgia. She said she missed me. That she thought about me every day. That what she did wasn't about love or hate or even desire, it was about her. About being broken and not knowing how to say it. About needing validation in all the wrong places. And while some part of me believed she meant it, none of it changed the outcome. Some people apologize not to make things right, but to feel better about what they did. And I wasn't going to be her absolution. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer, not to keep it, but to forget it. The truth is, the person I was when I met her doesn't exist anymore. He was softer. Naive in the way only someone who's never been betrayed can be. But the man I became, he's sharper. Wiser. Less trusting, maybe, but more grounded. And while I'll never thank her for what she did, I can admit this, it forced me to grow. To see people for who they are instead of who I want them to be. To walk away when someone shows you they don't value what you bring. To protect your peace at all costs. Months passed. Seasons shifted. The sting that once felt unbearable had dulled into something manageable, just a scar now, not an open wound. Life had settled into a new rhythm. I wasn't pretending everything was fine anymore. I wasn't faking smiles or telling people I was okay just to avoid uncomfortable conversations. I was okay. For real this time. Not because I had forced myself to move on, but because I had lived through it. Day by day. Hurt by hurt. Choice by choice. And somewhere along the way, without even realizing it, I had rebuilt something inside myself that I didn't know was broken until she shattered it. I had boundaries now. Standards. A sense of self-respect that ran deeper than just saying, I deserve better. I believed it. I walked in it. I started seeing someone new, not in the reckless rebound way, not out of spite or loneliness. She came into my life quietly, like peace after a storm. We met through mutual friends, and it started simple. Coffee. Long walks. Conversations that weren't filled with tension or games. Just ease. Honesty. I didn't tell her everything at first. I wasn't ready. But when I did, she listened. Really listened. Not just to the story, but to the parts one didn't know how to say out loud, the doubts, the fear of trusting again, the quiet insecurities that betrayal leaves behind. She never rushed me. Never tried to fix it. She just let me be. And in that space, I found something I hadn't felt in a long time, safety. I won't lie and say I never thought about the past. There were still moments when I'd see something, an old song, a familiar place, and feel a brief ache. But it didn't hurt the way it used to. It didn't pull me backward. If anything, it reminded me of how far I'd come. That night at the bar felt like another life now. The guy sitting in that car across the street, recording the truth on his phone? He was a different version of me. A man who needed answers. Proof. Something solid to hold onto when the world felt like it was falling apart. But I didn't need that anymore. I didn't need videos or explanations. I trusted my gut now. And more importantly, I trusted myself to walk away when something didn't feel right. Then, one evening, something unexpected happened. I got an invite to a gathering. A mutual friend's birthday party. One I had been going to for years. I debated whether to go. I knew there was a chance she'd be there. Part of me didn't want to risk the awkwardness. But a bigger part of me knew I wasn't avoiding her anymore. I wasn't hiding. So I went. Not to prove anything. Just to enjoy the night, reconnect with people, and live the kind of life I had once paused for someone who never deserved that kind of power. And sure enough, she was there. Across the room. She noticed me, hesitated, and for a second I could see the surprise in her eyes. Maybe she thought I'd ignore her. Maybe she thought I'd walk out. I didn't. I nodded once and went back to my conversation. She looked like she wanted to come over. Say something. But she didn't. She just watched me. And I kept laughing, kept living. I didn't owe her anything, not a scene, not a cold shoulder, not even a fake smile. That was the real victory. Not anger. Not revenge. Just indifference. That night, as I drove home, windows down, music playing, I realized that was the closure I never needed from her. It came from me. From healing, not reacting. From choosing peace over drama. From knowing that sometimes the best response is no response at all. And if you're reading this, if you've ever been lied to, betrayed, made to feel small by someone who claimed to love you, let me tell you this, you don't need their apology to move on. You don't need to make them understand what they did. Some people will never see the damage they caused and some just don't care. But that doesn't mean you stay stuck. You deserve more than just someone who says the right things after doing the worst ones. You deserve honesty, consistency, and someone who doesn't make you question your worth every time they leave the room. So here I am now on the other side of it all. Not bitter. Not broken. Just better. Stronger. Wiser. And if you followed this story to the end, maybe you see a part of yourself in it. Maybe you've lived through your own version of betrayal. Maybe you're still healing. If so, keep going. The pain doesn't last forever. The confusion fades. And one day you'll look back and realize the worst thing that ever happened to you was also the beginning of the best version of you. If this story hit you somewhere deep, if it felt like I was telling your story, drop a comment below. Let me know you're here. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. More real stories are coming. Ones that dig deep. That tell the truth. That remind you you're not alone. Thanks for sticking with me. I'll see you in the next one.